You're watching the number one podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean Paul Leek, and this is Rope Break, and this is your Monday Night Raw review, and it was an eventful Monday Night Raw, history making, but it was also a very bad Monday Night Raw, and besides the main focus of the show, not very good. Before we get into the review, just want to thank each and every one of you. So, not really much uploads from Rope Break this weekend because we decided to rest. We're well rested and we're ready to deliver the best content that we know you guys will love and support. So thank you for that. And like I said, we're ready to rock and ready to cover some wrestling. So let's get into Monday Night Raw because like I said, there was some legit things that happened. Obviously, the main event, you guys see it, Bobby Lashley, new WWE champion, but there was a lot of bullshit, to get us there. So let's begin. They showed a recap of everything that happened last week. Lashley, The Miz, everything from Elimination Chamber. And then speaking of Elimination Chamber, we see Drew McIntyre. So he starts and he said that it's been a bitch of a month. And, Sheamus, he was his friend for 20 years, turned his back on him. He wins the chamber. Lashley kicks the shit out of him. He loses to The Miz. And he's just like, I had my ticket set to WrestleMania. How am I going to get there? He stares at the sign and he's like, it's fine because I'm going to regain my championship and main event WrestleMania. He's like, I didn't beat Brock Lesnar and, defend my title for months and months, to get so close to the finish line to get screwed. Not a chance. So then The Miz and the Morrison come out and they're like, Drew says, let's get in the ring. Let's do this. And Miz is like, I don't know why you're getting mad at me. The winner of the Money in the Bank is supposed to cash in. He's like, that's what the whole point of it is. And then he said, you should only be mad at Bobby Lashley. He's like, he's the one who cost you this. And he's like, he threatened my family and all this stuff, as in Lashley threatened the Miz's family. And maybe he threatened to show Maurice a good time. I don't know. But he threatened his family. And he's like, oh, you should help me take out Bobby Lashley and all this stuff, trying to, twist the narrative here. So then MVP comes out and he says that he's like, is this the beginning of a new business, venture for you, Drew? And Drew said, I didn't team up with you when you asked me. So, of course, I'm not going to team up with these clowns. And then he said, that he was pretty much done with that. And he's like, I want to kick Sheamus's ass. That was his whole thing. And then MVP says, well, Miz, you have until 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we're coming out and we're going to have our match. So, then, good opening segment by, for the whole Lashley thing. Drew is still main event. Like I said, that should be maybe the match at Fastlane. I would have Drew lose that if you're going to do Drew versus Lashley right away. But I don't think they are. I think Lashley's either going to have maybe like Braun Strowman beat him again, somebody like that. But I think you're going to do Drew and Sheamus at Fastlane, maybe make that a number one contenders match for WrestleMania, and you'll have Drew win that. But, I mean, that was good. Obviously MVP is always legit on the mic. Miz, being the chicken shit heel and stuff, of course he was scared for 9 o'clock. But Sheamus comes out then. They start brawling on the ramp, and then this leads to the opening match, which this was a great match, probably the best match of the night. Unless you liked the main event for maybe the outcome, but just, overall quality, this match was great. These two guys hated each other. This is probably the match we should have got, like we were saying, at the Royal Rumble, maybe Elimination Chamber and all that stuff. But, I mean, the way that they did it here, it still doesn't even seem like the feud is over. But this match was great. This was definitely, in my opinion, could have been on a pay-per-view. It had 2 or 3 commercial breaks. I believe it had 3, 1 at the start and then 2 while the match was still going on. So they obviously gave these guys time. Really good. They were using each other's moves. Drew hit I believe like a super or, whatever you want to call it from the second rope, white noise. So he hit that. Sheamus hit the big Alabama slam that Drew hits. And I believe he went for another one of Drew's moves. So these guys just beat the hell out of each other. And the feud, you can tell, is like portrayed legitimate. It's not like, oh, I hate you, you hate me. And then they do like, oh, let's lock up and let's, have like a contest. No, these guys were in a fight and it showed here. But at the end of this thing, where are we? Here we go. At the end of this thing, Sheamus, he goes for, he hits that big Alabama slam like I was talking about for a near fall. Then he goes to the corner. He runs for the bro kick, but McIntyre catches him with a Claymore. 1, 2, 3, nobody kicks out of the Claymore. So awesome stuff. Like I said, this was definitely the best match of the night. But at this point, it's already 8:35. A good, the first sixth of the show, you could say. It's like, oh, man, like we got how much more of this show? A half an hour is only a sixth of it? Yeah, that's right, people. This is pretty bad. So, that was already gone. So, pretty good start to the show, I will say. Then after the match, Sheamus and McIntyre stare at each other. Drew looks saddened by the whole thing. Sheamus just looks pissed. Like I said, I don't think this feud's going to be over. Maybe it is, because that was a legit match to have a blow-off, but I could see them doing number one contender or something at Fastlane. So at this point, yeah, it's already 8:45. They say it's 15 minutes left until The Miz has to defend his championship. So then we see Naomi. She's backstage. She runs into Nia Jax. They stare at each other. And after the break, they will go one-on-one. And starting to push Naomi. She came back, okay, looking legit. I think she had a win over Bayley or something. Or no, I forget who that was, but whatever. She comes back. Is she going to be pushed here? Is she going to beat Nia Jax and anything? No. I don't know why this match happened. Nobody even cared. Naomi, a little bit of offense. Of course, Nia Jax comes back and done. She hits like a big one-hand power bomb. Is it the Samoan drop? Is it the leg drop? Is it this one-hand power bomb? Do you have a finisher, or are you that garbage that you just try something new every week and see what sticks? Well, nothing sticks because you're garbage. So Nia Jax wins. Nobody cares. Then we see Lashley and MVP. They come to the ring for the WWE Championship match. Of course, they come out first. Miz's music hits. Nobody comes out. Nothing. We cut the backstage. You see Miz. He's toppled over. Oh, my stomach. Oh, got a bad stomach ache. All this trying, being a chicken shit heel, trying to get out of it. Morrison's like, oh, my God. Is he okay? Is he okay? And then Adam Pearce, he's like, what's going on? Miz says, oh, I'm cramping up, all this stuff. And then Lashley, he's like, fuck this. He runs in there. He grabs Miz. He's like, you better get ready. Or he's like, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to tear your head off, whatever he says. And then, they run off. Pierce tells him, all right, dude, you have until now 10 o'clock. So you see Miz is just prolonging or delaying the inevitable at this point. And it's like, can we get this over with? If you wanted it to be the main event, you should have just booked it in the main event and made it feel more legit instead of running through all this thing, kind of like muddying the waters, I would say a little bit. But then we see Braun Strowman. He makes his way. Speaking of muddying waters, then we see Braun Strowman, and he doesn't look happy. So he's in the ring, and he's like, oh, WWE management is against me. I wasn't in the chamber, because clearly he can't understand the concept or the difference between the Universal and the WWE Championship, which goes into what Shane McMahon said, that he's been taking, a lot of classes on conflict management or something like that. And he's like, which it's probably above your reading level. Like I said, he couldn't comprehend the stipulation to be in the match, because he doesn't have a reading level probably above kindergarten. So he gets pissed and he's like, listen, he's like, if, how about you going to be in this match with Adam Pearce tonight? It'll be a tag team match for tag team gold, obviously against the Hurt Business. So if you guys can work together and stuff, legit. So they pretty much get this match, and of course Braun Strowman grabs Adam Pearce. If you fuck this up, you're gonna get these hands and all this stuff. It's like, okay, dude, whatever. We don't care. The only thing I cared about from this was, please don't let the Hurt Business lose, because they're looking so legit. And what is the whole point of this? What has Braun Strowman? I mean, maybe he knew Adam Pearce was going to lose. Maybe he told him, like, hey, maybe he told him what the finish of the match was in the world of kayfabe. Like, hey, when Braun tags you in, just lose, because we got to get under Braun's skin and piss him off. I don't know what the whole purpose of this is besides just getting Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania, which, I mean, I guess they're definitely, the train is going down the track, no pun intended, with Braun Strowman, because they're really pushing this feud, because this match, Braun Strowman dominates it. He kicks, Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander's ass, which I absolutely hated. And they had to say, oh, this isn't the first time he beat up Raw Tag Team Champs by himself, referencing WrestleMania. And it's like, yes, please remind me when Sheamus and Cesaro had to job to this loser. But, he hits a big power slam. I believe it was on Shelton Benjamin. And then Pierce tags himself in, and he rolls up Adam Pearce immediately when Pierce tags in. And the only thing I didn't like with that is Pierce, like, slowly crept in the ring, like he's never been in a wrestling ring before. It's like, really? You couldn't just get onto the rope? I mean, I know he was still in his suit and all that, but so he gets rolled up, gets pinned, and the champs retain, so I'm fine with that. Then needless, Braun, obviously, he's pissed and everything. Pierce runs out of there, and Shane tells him that he will wreck the place before leaving. Or he tells Shane that he's going to wreck the place before leaving. So then we go from one bad segment to another. We get Elias and Jackson Riker. They're backstage talking to Bad Bunny, saying, hey, our music, we're so legit. You're almost there, kid. Keep it up. And then he's like, hey, how about we work together? He says something in Spanish. Damian Priest is like, nah, we're not. We're good on that offer, pal. So then we go to commercial break. We come back. Elias is in the ring, and he's pissed. He's like, I'm the pinnacle of music. People disrespect me in the ring. They disrespect my music. WWE means walk with Elias. That whole shtick, that whole bullshit nobody cares about. Bad Bunny's music hits. He comes out. Then Damian Priest's music hits. He comes out as well. And we get this match, Damian Priest versus Elias. Of course, Bad Bunny, Jackson Riker, of course, on the outside. No, they didn't really cause too much interference or anything. Elias got in Bad Bunny's face, but a couple of times. But this match went way too long. Oh, Jackson Riker, yeah, he did clock Damian Priest the one time the ref was distracted and everything. So they did get involved a little bit, but it wasn't like AEW crazy when they're in the ring doing moves and the ref's like, like Alpha 5, I, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, okay, try to get some kind of order here. But, my only problem with this is it just went way too long. I don't care what anybody says. If you're a fan of Elias or whatnot, he's a jobber, and he went way too long with somebody who should be pushed to the main event sooner rather than later. That's Damian Priest. But thankfully, in the end, Damian Priest, he was able to hit the Reckoning after Elias had him in like an electric chair. He got out of that. He hit the Reckoning, or as now they call it, hit the lights, but whatever. Rose by any other name, he still hits it and gets the win. So thankfully we got that. Then we see another promo video to explain how we got to The Miz and Bobby Lashley, which is to take place after the break. So then we see Kayla Braxton. She interviews Randy Orton backstage about the events, that happened with him and The Fiend, everything, coughing up that black liquid. And he says he doesn't know what the hell's going on, but he knows it has to do with Alexa Bliss, and she better watch it, or, she's going to end up like The Fiend. And he suggests that she move on with her life, just pretty much leave him alone. And then she appears on a box behind him. She's holding a little Jack in the Box. And she says, I wish it was the fast food I could eat. No, an actual toy Jack in the Box. And she says that there's something Orton should know. The lights flicker off. And then we come back. We see like Randy Orton and a reflection of himself, or it was on a video screen or some kind of bullshit. But he has the hood up. And he says, Randy, this doesn't end on your terms. Soon you will come face to face with everything you've ever done. And then the actual Randy Orton starts to cough up that black liquid again. So we know the Fiend is coming back. This is clearly what this all represents. Or it's going to be some kind of cinematic match where Randy wrestles himself or something. Who the hell knows what they're going to do? But this is definitely the Fiend's work. So then the Miz, he asks for a microphone before the match, and he begs for logic. Not the rapper. We already have one rapper. Let's just keep it at that. No, he begs for logic in the sense where he says, you waited 17 years for this. Did he? Didn't he have a match with Drew? I don't know. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I don't think he waited 17 years unless he was already spoiling it that he was going to become champion. And he's like, you waited 17 years for this. He's like, let's, do it at WrestleMania. Let's make it legit. MVP says, no, it's happening right now. So as soon as the bell rings, the Miz hightails it out of there. Lashley's like, you got to be kidding me. And 1, 2, boom, 10, count out. Lashley wins by a count out. Miz is still champ. They said, no, it's not going down like this. And then we go to commercial break. When we come back, the two frustrated pair, they're backstage. Adam Pearce, or I think it might have just been Shane McMahon. He's trying to calm them down. MVP says this is bullshit. And he's like, listen, if he doesn't, have this next match, if he somehow gets out of it, whatever, he's like, I'll consider stripping him of the title and awarding it to Lashley, which is what he did make, his, I don't know, I guess rule or a verdict or whatever, on this. He's like, Miz, if you're bullshit again, it's done. So, that's good. So now this will pretty much just be the main event. So like I said, I don't know why you just didn't make it the main event to begin with, but whatever. Logic just doesn't exist on this show, like The Miz said. Unfortunately, he's part of that logic that doesn't exist. So then Charlotte, she comes to the ring, and she says the past few weeks have been an emotional roller coaster. She says she comes back to Raw, found herself teaming with Asuka, who she respects. She had no desire to be in the title picture, because we all believe that one. And then she's like, oh, but Bianca, she chose Sasha. Now Asuka has nobody to fight, so I guess it'll be me. Well, if you have no desire to be in the title picture, then give it to somebody else. Give the opportunity to literally anyone else besides you. If you don't want to be in it, then don't be in it. So clearly this is like open mouth, insert foot, already a bullshit promo, and it only got worse because then Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler came out. They're like, we're the one who took your partner out of commission. The show when Shayna kicked her in the mouth, the teeth went flying because it looked like more than one. And, just Nia's like, yeah, we should challenge her more than you. And she's like, well, me more than Shayna deserve it. And so Shayna kind of looked like, really, bitch? And, so, it's just the same old song and dance. It's been the same thing for months with these three. and nobody cares. Literally, the Raw women's division, to me, feels absolutely dead. And we get this match between Charlotte Flair and Shayna Baszler. It wasn't contested. It wasn't legit. It wasn't good at all. Charlotte somehow, got past the distraction of Nia Jax, sent her into the steel steps, got out of the Kirifuda clutch, hit a natural selection. Boom. If you blinked, it was over. This was way quick. Jobbed out both the tag team champs before they're going to lose the belts in NXT. So, really good job, portraying your women's division legit besides Charlotte Flair. So, like I said, bullshit match. I did not like it. Then we see Shane McMahon. He's backstage, and he says that they need to tell him that if The Miz doesn't show up for the main event, he'll be stripped of the title and it will be given to Lashley. So there was the official ruling from Shane McMahon. So then speaking of more bullshit matches, like I said, this show was awful. Besides the opening match with Drew and Sheamus and, Lashley becoming champ, not a good show in the slightest. Then we see Riddle and the Lucha House Party versus Retribution, and the bell rings. Retribution is like a house on fire. They come out crazy, what does he do? Dijakovic does like the one-hand choke slam into a backbreaker, or whatever he does for the 2 count, on Riddle. So boom, almost pinned the champ right away. And then, just all of a sudden, Dorado, he runs over Slapjack, drop kicks T-Bar, and then the Luchas team up, and then they splash Slapjack and score the win. And this was really quick. And you're like, why was this so quick? Why does Retribution look like a bunch of losers? Even though we've seen that throughout the weeks, you thought, okay, Lucha House Party, maybe they'll get a pin. Maybe this will lead to like an Ali Riddle feud because the Lucha House Party's like, they're bros with Riddle. You try to think of some kind of logic here, but there isn't any. So Ali gets in the ring. He yells at Retribution. He's like, you guys are absolute bullshit. And, he's like, I'm going to show you how it's done. So he calls out Riddle. And they have a match. And see, this match was actually pretty good. This was, I would say, the second best match of the night because Ali can go. If Riddle's in there with somebody, really good, Riddle can go. Not saying he can't go on his own, but I don't think Riddle can carry a match. But Ali's super talented. I'm a big fan of the guy. I don't mind him being heel. I like it because he can actually shoot and say what he probably feels inside. But, they don't do nothing with him. But this was good, and I definitely liked the outcome. Because, Riddle's dominating, he hits the penalty kick, all that stuff, hits the senton, and he hits another penalty kick. He hits a ripcord knee, heads to the top, Slapjack kind of distracts him, or distracts the referee rather. Then Ali hits Riddle from behind, and then he hits some kind of weird, like, not like a sit-out power bomb, but some kind of like driver or something, but it looked kind of funky. So Ali actually scored. Maybe it's supposed to be a new finisher. He doesn't do the inverted 450 because that's kind of like a high flying move that's usually baby phases because Ali's legit, respects the business, and will wrestle like a heel. So, Ali gets the win, and that's good because maybe it is going to start a feud for Ali with the, United States Championship because there is no really other mid-card heels. You want to think about it, Morrison and all that, that ship has sailed. Who, AJ and Riddle, we going to see that again? I don't think anybody wants to. So, good win here. Hopefully Mustafa Ali wins the belt and they do right by him. But are you going to take it right off Riddle? I don't think so either. So we'll see where they go. So then The Miz comes into Shane McMahon and Pierce's room, and he said he had a match tonight. He defended the title against Lashley. He's like, I did what I had to do to win. Any smart champion would have done the same thing. And then he's like, WWE needs me to survive. I'm so legit. Is Lashley going to be as legit as me? Is he going to make all these calls, all these appearances, do all these things, blah, blah, blah. And then Miz asks Shane what type of champion Bobby would be. And Shane says, well, I guess, that we might find that out. So then we see Shane. He comes out and he says that he thinks of a way to make the match fair. So here come the Lumberjacks. So obviously you got the Hurt Business out there. You have Morrison. You have all the 24/7 title jobbers. You have some other people out there. So, a good amount of Lumberjacks. I don't think Strowman. Oh, no, Strowman was out there. He was one of the Lumberjacks. So the bell rings. Miz tries to run out. He tries to bargain with people. Hey, help me out, whatever. They kind of throw him back in. Ali didn't want to touch him. I don't know if he thought Miz had COVID. He's like, he's like, get away. I don't want to touch you. So then the Hurt Business comes over. They throw him back in. Obviously, Lashley just beat the shit out of this guy. He throws Miz to the corner, punches him, hits a massive spine buster. He's all fired up. He picks up the Miz. He applies the Hurt Lock, maybe 5-6 seconds. Miz taps, See, if you want to make The Miz look strong a little bit, at least don't have him tap. At least let him just completely pass out and the ref calls it. But maybe they wanted that visual of him tapping so Miz couldn't come in next week and be like, oh, I never tapped. All that bullshit. But he taps. We get Bobby Lashley as the WWE champion. And this is historic because, one, Bobby Lashley has been in this business how long? Yeah, he was Impact champ. He was champ in other places. But in WWE, champ is way overdue, well deserved, and he is only the third African American to hold the WWE Championship, not counting the World Heavyweight Championship or anything. The Rock, Kofi Kingston, and him. So, this was great, and this is good just, for Bobby Lashley. And if I'm booking this thing, he's going to hold the title till SummerSlam, because this will probably be his only run with a belt. Give him something legit. Let him have a big match at WrestleMania. Drew, Lesnar, and Lashley. I know some people don't like triple threats, but the way that they could do that triple threat with those three huge veterans, there's no way that match will be bad. And then you have Lashley get out of that. And then, you do a match at SummerSlam. If you want to put the title back on Drew then, because Drew's your future, Drew's your guy, that's fine. But let Lashley at least have a legit run, not from now until Mania. I feel he could hold it a little longer, and, everything will be fine. He's legit. He deserves it. So that was Monday Night Raw. Like I said, awful show besides the opening segment in the first match and then Lashley holding up the gold. Other than that, very forgettable show, nothing of value. Just watch Rope Break. We tell you that every Tuesday. Just watch Rope Break. There's no point to watch Monday Night Raw. So thank you so much for watching, guys. And don't forget, follow us Rope Break on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, the original Rope Break on Instagram, and of course, right here, the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, the original Rope Break. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time with NXT.